How do they say you get perfect? That's it. Practice. But that's a lie. And you know why it's a lie? Because everyone says I'm an amazing speaker, but we've all been speaking our whole lives. Most of you have been speaking long. A lot of you have been speaking longer than me. So why am I better? What's the difference?
And how? You watch yourself. You study yourself.
I watch myself. Feedback. Study. If you don't study, you won't get better. I'll give you an example. I'm shit at chess, compared to my dad. I hover between 1600 elo when I'm really mad, like an idiot, and 1800 elo in blitz. I play 3-minute blitz games. I've been between 1600 and 1800 elo for about 8 years. Even though I play chess for about half an hour a day, I never get better. Why? Because I never analyze the games. When my dad would train me, we'd sit down and do the boring analysis. Why? What could you have done? It's the analyze, it's the feedback that makes you better. Why, as a fighter, if you just spar every day, will you never be good? Because you don't train. It's feedback that makes you good at things, not practice. You have to practice, then feedback, always. And communication is one of the most important things because it's something you do every single day, all of the time. If you're going to get good at one thing, you may as well get good at the thing you do most often. And you're all talking all the time. So you may as well get good at it. So you have to analyze yourself. That's the reason I said this and ah thing. To make it difficult for you, I understand it's nervous. I understand you're up here and you're talking in front of people and it's nerve-wracking. But you should be going through your life in general, catching yourself doing it and not allowing yourself to do it. Because that feedback, it won't take long. It'll take 3 months until you find a way to just stop saying it. And it's so unique that you don't realize how many people you're speaking to who do it until you stop. It's like saying, have you ever seen a red car and you drive down the road and every car's red? When I sit and listen to somebody, I'm literally listening to them thinking, fuck you know, you've been speaking your whole life. You're a dummy, right? Because I don't do it anymore. So it's a pet peeve of mine almost. But you have to self-analyze yourself all of the time. Don't allow yourself to get away with it when you're not in this environment. It sounds like a small thing, but I'm telling you, when you can compendiously, concisely explain your point of view, when you can do what I do, which is machine gun 5 points at once, especially in a debate, it's very hard to argue against me. If you give me a minute, I've made 5 points and linked it into 2 older points, and I've hinted at a future point. And now you have to counter that. And you're like, you're a misogynist. You can't argue with me. That's why the BBC got wrecked. So you have to be very good. If I was saying on my BBC interview, it would have been over. I could have said the same things with a couple ums and ahs, it would have been over. I'm the worst man in the world. So it's battle, it's war. So I want you to all become very, very good with your speech. Because it's an easy thing. It's not difficult. It's not fighting. You're not getting hit. Stop saying stop saying ah.
How do you structure?
You need a pause to think. So what I will do is I will either literally take a pause and stop. And a lot of that is body language to allow yourself to be given the time to do that. Or the second thing I'll do if I make a mistake is I'll repeat myself. So I'll say something like, there's an example. So I'll say. That sounds better than going, so I'll say, and I know English isn't always your first language. I know for some of you people, I'm not as hard because English isn't your first language. I completely get that. It's also the reason I refuse to speak another language because I speak English so well, but I don't want to degrade. If you want to speak to me, you speak to me in my language. It's my battlefield. I win. But English is the language of the world, so you may as well get very, very good at it. And it will translate to all of your personal relationships. Your arguments will become shorter. You'll make more money. Everything is from communication. That's why I have a stick, and that's why I have a pet peeve for ums and ahs, because it's the easiest way to just improve your overall status, because you also come across extremely confident when you don't use and ah. You look like you know exactly what you're talking about when you don't use and ah. If I say what's 2 plus 2 and you go 4, you look dumb. If I say what's 2 plus 2 and you go 4, you look smart. The makes you look like an idiot. So it's a pet peeve of mine. I just said it's twice. I just did it. So I'm self-analyzing myself all the time to make sure I don't do that. So that's why I've said it before this, to make it hard for all of you when you stand up here and you're nervous and you start going But in general life, try not to do it, because you'll see your life improve. You'll see your interactions with people improve in real time. You'll know that. I'll give the game away. I'll give the game away to the entire YouTube world, why I've destroyed absolutely everybody in any debate ever. I say things that they know are true and that they agree with, but I say it in a way that angers them emotionally, and they get caught up in their brain because they're saying, he's saying the truth, but I'm pissed off by how he's saying it. So I want to argue with him, but he's right. So instead of saying men are physically stronger than women, I'll say females are weak. Females are weak. Well, females are weak. Females are weak. Men are strong. Females are weak. No, but but I'm right. And he knows I'm right, but he's mad now. and so is she, and they sit there, and it happened on Dave Portnoy. You end up having a whole group of people sitting there trying to argue. Well, some women are strong like men, trying to argue the fact that women are as strong as men physically because I've emotionally controlled them all and upset them all. And then I do a podcast and I get billions and millions of views and unlimited likes against good debaters like Dave and his little crew by just emotionally controlling them. It's an emotional game. I wreck them. I've never given this game away before anyway. But this is what I do. I sit there and I say something they know is true in a way they can't agree with it, and I fucking control them all. Because they're stupid. If I was me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, perhaps I don't like the way you phrased it, but you're very true. That takes intellect. People are emotional. So this is why I wreck all of them. And you're right. I poke them on purpose. And it makes it very difficult to argue with me, especially if they agree with what I'm saying, but they don't like the way it's being said. That's where you see the full breakdowns, the full mental breakdown.
In regards to, I use perspicacious a lot. Indefatigable, I use a lot. I have favorite words I use.
Compendious is one of your favorite words.
Compendious is another word I like to use.
What is that? What is that?
Compendious means presenting information in a concise way.
Oh wow.
Compendious. I like that. So I'll often say, like, I'm a professional. I'm particularly compendious and I'm concise.
Gotcha.
I'll say that I'm a professional, I'm particularly compendious and I'm concise, and then I'll make my point. So regardless of what the point is, before I've made the point, I sound like a genius.
Right.
So Andrew, do you have like a where are you picking these 5 words from? You're just going in the dictionary and just going.
There's a bunch of free email lists you can go get from dictionary.com that give you the word of the day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Play it. I'm gonna put the beat to.
Even on Patrick's Twitter status, it said describe the Matrix in one word, and I said beguilement. The word I chose.
Randomly.
And that was a word I learned only a week ago.
A week. That was a perfect. Just put it right there.
Beguilement means to amuse or distract away from wickedness or danger. Not many people know this, but I used to sell windows. You know the old school knock on the door? Window sales. I did window sales for 2 or 3 years, and I'd say this is one of the hardest jobs you could possibly do. And I would always recommend a young man, if he has some time to waste, to go sell windows. And the reason, it's fantastic, because I'll tell you why. It's the hardest one to sell because 1, nobody wants them. 2, they don't know who you are. And 3, even if you convince them that they need windows, after them not knowing who you are, then they go to all your competitors and then it becomes a price war. It's a nightmare. It's the hardest sales job. If you're selling a Lambo, at least they want the Lambo, right? Nobody wants glass and plastic. They already have windows. So you gotta find a way to sell them these windows. How do you do that? And that's where all this master communication comes in. And it's so many subtle little things. Being a good salesman is not necessarily being a liar. It's not being a trickster. It's just understanding what's gonna make the person believe and understand what you say. If I walked in and said, would you like new windows? And they essentially said, no, we don't need new windows. Our windows look fine. I would say, but what about the security aspect? While looking at their 3-year-old child. And they'd sit there and go, what do you mean security aspect? And then I talk about how we had the Lock 5000 and their locks are easy to break, as if glass isn't glass. It's all the same anyway. And you'd end up selling the windows. You have to find the triggers in people. There's another thing people don't understand about me and my message. Sometimes I sit here and I say things that piss people off because that's how you trigger people to make action. I have often written emails or done videos to, especially to men when I want to help men, to piss them off. You're a loser. You're a dumbass. Andrew, why you mean? Because you're not going to go to the gym unless I tell you you're a fucking loser. And you are a loser, and I'm not lying to you. You are a loser. The emotional trigger you need to get up off that chair is the fact that you're not important, nobody cares who you are, any girl you're ever in love with I could take, and you're insignificant. And when you die, nobody's interested. That's your fault. You could have been something else. You did that. You failed. It has to be done. You have to be a master communicator. And sometimes that involves also insulting people. To be a master communicating, you also need experiences worth talking about. You have to live a life. You need a degree of wisdom, and wisdom doesn't always come with age. It comes with life lived. I had a guy message me. This is a long time ago when I used to reply to my own emails. Too big now. But he said, I don't have any stories. My life's boring. I said, bro, where do you live? He said, Madrid. I said, bro, ride the train from Madrid to St. Petersburg. Ride the train from Madrid to Vladivostok. Do the Trans-Siberian Railway. Cost you like $300. He goes, oh, but what if I get robbed? Exactly! That's exactly the point! What if you get robbed? Now you have a story. Maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. But you have a story. Don't bring your watch. If you got a Rolex, no one wants to rob you anyway. Don't worry about it. You're brokey. Get on the train. There has to be that degree of risk to even have a story, because when you have a story, then you can communicate the story. You can't be an empty vessel either. So when you say you're telling me how I build this 20-year-old into a super soldier. Yeah, he has to be a master communicator, but he also has to do things which are risky. Risk has value intrinsically linked to it, intrinsically. This is why people, when you do risky things, people want to hear the story. Your coolest stories involve risk. something went wrong, this could have happened, I almost this, I made it out. Without these risks, you haven't got it. So I would say to the 20-year-old, do what I did. Get in the cage. Get in the ring. Knock someone out. Get knocked out. Train hard. Fighting will teach you everything you need to know about life. You'll learn everything about who you truly are. You'll learn if you're a coward or not. You'll learn everything about perseverance and hard work and dedication. Everything about being underappreciated. You learn everything about fear. You learn all of it. You learn everything about people. You win a fight, check your phone. Lose a fight, check your phone. You learn all about people. You learn all about them. You learn all about women. I learned so much about women through fighting. When I had a fight coming up and I was weight drained and I had barely eaten in weeks and I'd lost all this weight and I had a world title fight and I'm fighting a guy who might kill me and she's complaining about the toilet seat. I learned all about women. You learn a lot about life through these difficult processes and paths. And there used to be for men like a rite of passage. In most societies, you had to go through something to become a man, from a boy to a man. But that thing was always difficult. It's always been difficult. Now you have to self-induce it, self-inflict it. But if you're going to be a boy and never bring on that self-inflicted rite of passage, how are you going to ever become a man?
What I like to consider myself a master of is making information palatable. You'll see in a lot of my interviews, I say things that are very controversial, but it's very unusual I get into an outright argument. I famoose it in, I smooth it. You understand the game there, you know? And I say it and they get a bit mad, especially with chicks, they get a bit mad. Then I come at a bit spin, I say something, I compliment them a little bit and they say, oh no, you actually had a good point, but I'm kind of like famoose. And by the end of it, they're all like, well, he is right. That I get it in. You know what it's like when you got something big, you got to try and make it get in. I think in the modern world where arrogance is constantly frowned upon, of course, you know, we all know arrogant fuckers who we don't like. But arrogance with complete competence can actually be quite comforting. And I think sometimes when I'm saying things, I put them in such an arrogant tone to give them validity. So I'll give an example. Let's say you're about to get on a plane and the plane's about to fly through the eye of a hurricane. If I were to meet my pilot, I would love him to be an arrogant fucker. I'd love him to be like, bro, all I do is fly planes. Hurricane, psh, please, I'm the G, I'm the boss. You're worried. What are you worried about? Hurricane, little bit of nature. I got wings, bruv. All I do is fly planes. You don't know me. You're like, I'd love that much more than, oh, it's gonna be choppy. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly.
I'd be like, give me the arrogant guy all day. It's quite comforting to sit there and go, you know what? He was so confident. There's no way he can crash now because he'll look like an idiot. And he's dead, but he'll look stupid on top. So sometimes I think arrogance, especially if you're competent and it's delivered correctly, and maybe you put a little bit of humor in, I think it'd be quite comforting, and it can also, in many ways, get your idea across quite effectively. I'm arrogant to project ideas. It doesn't mean it's false, it doesn't mean I don't mean it, but my persona has evolved over time to the point where when I'm telling somebody something they don't want to hear, or they don't believe in, because the clown world has told them everything else their entire life.
Exactly.
The only way I can get it in their brain sometimes is to be so solid about it. Like, the sky is blue. They're like, no, it's green. It's like, this motherfucker, it's blue. It's blue.
There's being understood and there's being listened to.
Yeah.
And I can be listened to when I speak. You know, stand in front of the mirror. Find somebody who you like the sound of.
Yeah.
Listen to an audiobook.
Yeah.
An audiobook of a topic you're interested in, because the audiobooks are always read by very talented voice actors in almost 100% of cases.
Yeah.
And repeat after them.
I remember.
They say a line, slow down, breathe, you say the line.
Perfect.
Instead of I don't know.
And get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, until you get it. Yeah, it's the same as martial art.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. If you speak badly, if you say, "Oh, the bottle of champagne is ice cold," okay, no one heard you. And you hear in a book, "The bottle of champagne was ice cold." Repeat the way he says it. Read it again and again. Listen to it again and again, and try to learn from voice actors and other people who have good voices, etc. Not even me. I don't have the best voice in the world. I'm not the best speaker in the world. There are much better people out there. What was his name? Guy went viral on TikTok. Can't remember. He was just reading lines from movies. But you know, people have very good speaking talents. I give myself an 8 out of 10 because I'm very self-critical. But I could speak well enough. But if you can't, work on it, because that really matters. If you want to be the man and you want to command a room and you want to be a man with presence, maybe you want to, seduce a beautiful woman. Whatever it is you want to do in life, being able to communicate your ideas helps a million times over, especially in business.
100%.
Money, you know,
it's so important.
You cannot communicate your ideas. Yeah. You could be the most brilliant man in the world. If you sound like an idiot, then you sound like an idiot, regardless of what you say. So learn to communicate. It's exceptionally important.